Hi, I'm Kim Westlund. I help people take action on their vision. And in this video, I want to share the difference between two very different kinds of pressure that can help you or derail you from success. Pressure can come in so many different forms, and we all experience it. We don't get away, none of us do, from a pressure free life. We all have things that push at us from time to time. Practically speaking, physical pressure, we can take any kind of object, and when we apply force to it, it will move in some way, shape, or form. And depending on the object and the amount of pressure, will depend on how much it moves. So that just kind of gives us a little bit of a visual of how pressure works. Makes me think sometimes of even when I get a knot in my back, sometimes sitting and doing a lot of desk work will give me knots, and it creates a pressure point. And what I find is all of my focus ends up, as it's hurting, it goes to that one area. And I'm no longer focusing on what's feeling great in my body. I'm focused on that one little area that's giving me grief and hurting. The other kind of pressure that we can think about here is the unseen pressure. For instance, influences that we come across that put pressure maybe on some of our beliefs and some of the things that we know to be true. When we hear something different, it can make us pause and think about, what do I really believe? It kind of puts pressure on what already exists. Some of the information that we take in, pressure can cause us to move in a different direction when things are challenged, thoughts are challenged. Pressure can also come through a change of circumstances. For instance, when somebody loses a job, I know when I lost my job, all of a sudden there's financial pressure because things have changed. My paycheck dried up, and now I have to figure out, how am I going to adjust for that? And I have to make some decisions based on that pressure that's come into my life. And also my career path. Maybe it's interrupted what I was really on a path that I thought was right for me. And maybe it's time to reevaluate. So now there's pressure on some decisions that I have to make. Sometimes it's easy to know what your goals are and what you want to achieve, but where the difficulty comes in is when we experience pressure on those goals. It can cause us to make different decisions, go down a different road, and we end up on a very different path. So pressure can come in many, many different forms. So where I want to go deeper and differentiate what might be pressuring you is understanding, first of all, if the pressure is coming from advancing your purpose and growing into a new place in your life, or if the pressure is coming from trying to make something happen in your life that is just not aligned with who you are and what you are created to do. So those are two very distinct ways that pressure can show up. So let's talk a little bit about the pressure of trying to do something or a bunch of things, or you have been on a path for maybe a very long time that just doesn't align with who you are. And I'm going to say going down a path like that is most likely going to cause or has caused you feelings of overwhelm and dissatisfaction and upset and maybe just frustration of not doing the thing that really lights you up on the inside. And here's the thing, that just isn't sustainable in the long run. One common way this happens is through other people's expectations. And this one's tough because if you've had someone in your life that has maybe had the best of intentions and wants the best for you, but has put this pressure on you to be something that you just know you are not meant to be, this is going to end up in you not fulfilling your purpose in life. At the end of the day, you need to assess what's best for you. Even if you've been on this path for a very long time and you've always been listening to what everybody else wants for you, this is good news for you today. Just to hear this, it's up to you to find the alignment that you are created for. despite what everybody else has felt is right for you. It's easy when financial pressure is on to be filtering decisions through on paper what it looks like the highest paycheck versus what is my purpose. And I can hear someone right now thinking, well, maybe it's one or the other. I have to choose between a good paying career or a good paying job versus something I'm just really love to do. Some people think it's one or the other. That does not have to be the case. I firmly believe that when you find the work that you are specifically aligned with, provision is going to follow in some way, shape, or form. Maybe in very unexpected ways. Maybe it's a way that you can't necessarily see right away. How many people have you heard of who are extremely wealthy and appear to have everything they could ever want, but they're miserable? We don't want to climb the ladder of success and realize the ladder was leaned up against the wrong building the whole time. And if you are on the wrong ladder today, right now, as I speak this out, you still have the opportunity at any stage that you are at to get your ladder propped up against the right building and climb higher from there. So that's good news today for somebody. Now, on the flip side of this conversation, the other perspective is understanding when the pressure is built into our purpose. So that tells me there can be a good kind of pressure. And maybe the pressure you're feeling today is that kind of pressure and you don't even realize it. So let me explain. That kind of pressure is very, very different because it's challenging us to step into our purpose instead of working against it. Sometimes we think, it's pressure. That's not good. I need to get away from the pressure. But all pressure might be challenging us to do is to get outside of our comfort zone. Because as human beings, I think we're always running to the comfort zone. We're running to a place where we know we can expect the same things. We can enjoy some stability, and we know that comfort zone means that we can predict what's going to happen. Pressure can come to get us out of that place, because out of that place is growth. That's where the growth happens. We don't grow when we are trapped in our comfort zones. And this can come in the form of maybe learning a new skill. When we learn new skills, especially maybe if we're a little more mature, we've started a new career and we're down the road a little ways, learning a new skill can be really intimidating and feel very, very vulnerable. Especially, in my case, I had somebody half my age teaching me brand new skills, and it was a very humbling moment. That was pressure on my ego. That was pressure on what I thought I knew, and just me as a person. It challenged me a lot in that zone of learning. So when we challenge our mindset and we realize that we've placed limitations on ourselves and we want to go further, that pressure isn't going to feel the greatest in that moment. As we grow, we have to expand our territory. That's part of the growth. And when we expand our territory, we're pushing our borders out. And what happens when we push our borders out is then there's the unknown. There's territory we've never been in. And that will come with some pressure of the unknown and not knowing what's going to come up against us. So there's a lot of things that can happen in a very good way. It just might not feel very good. And this is where the distinction comes in. What kind of pressure is this? Will this pressure take us where we need to go? I heard this story years ago about a pastor of a church who had done a lot of great things. He had built up this church to a place that had a very strong foundation and helped a lot of people. And he had a great family around him who helped him behind the scenes. This pastor ended up battling an illness and he passed away. And this was obviously devastating to the family and to their church community. And I remember hearing there was a lot of pressure regarding what was next. One of the sons who worked behind the scenes for years and years and had absolutely no interest in pastoring himself, suddenly knew it was time for him to step into the role and fill his dad's shoes. The pressure of not knowing how to do this and even losing many people within their congregation and even speaking in this capacity, he had never done this before, was uncomfortable. But the pressure was for a purpose. And today, I understand this church is thriving and has gone much further as a result. It was obviously his purpose, but not without a lot of very uncomfortable pressure. So each of us stepping into our uniqueness and our specific path in life requires facing pressure head on. If you've hit your glass ceiling and you know that there's more for you, you have to find a way to break through that with some new thoughts, some new actions, some new skills, like I had mentioned earlier, maybe even a new attitude. And you may have to break away from people that are pressuring you to stay where you are. That's tough, but you are in a power position to decide which way this is going to go. Even though there's pressure, it's still your decision that determines where you go. You remember the definition of insanity. I'm sure you've heard it before. It's doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. There's really no magic wand that we can wave around and make the decisions easy sometimes and take away the pressure. Pressure comes when you decide to do something different. When you say, enough is enough, and it's time for the next level of growth. That's just part of the equation. So let me ask you two questions. First, what kind of pressure are you facing today? Are you feeling overwhelmed because nothing is making sense in your life, in your business, and where you're going? And are you feeling aligned with what you do? Is the pressure a heavy weight that is causing you to stumble and just stay put or just keep going through the motions each day? Or is the pressure a challenge that you're facing to grow into the next phase of your journey? And maybe, just maybe, are you secretly, just deep down, maybe a tiny bit excited? Or are you just wondering if you have what it takes to step into that new thing? My second question is, what do you do when the pressure comes? You face the pressure. How you face it will be up to you. And how you face pressure is one of the keys to your success, because pressure is always going to come. You're always going to face it at some point in your life. And if you've become accustomed to avoiding it, or maybe you feel paralyzed when pressure comes and you just find yourself in massive indecision, or you can distract yourself. I know that's a big one for a lot of people. I'm just going to pretend like it's not there and I'm just going to go do this, or just do nothing. I've even known some people to crumble under pressure and become paralyzed. Chances are you are never going to make it past where you are, despite your desires, if you don't face it head on. Pressure will expose the cracks in your life and in your business. But here's the thing. When you run to the problems instead of away from them, you set yourself up for promotion. That's progress. That's growth. And the adjustments that you need to make will become so much more noticeable and obvious. And when you decide to have courage, that's going to shrink a lot of the pressure in the long run. So find out where you can draw strength from. For me, it's my faith. It guides my decisions and it gives me understanding personally. For you, you need to decide where your strength is coming from. If you don't have anybody in your inner circle that you can seek out some counsel from, that's a sign you need to readjust who's in your life. Pressure will come and go, but it's how you handle the pressure that makes all the difference. Subscribe to this channel for more inspiration and resources like this. I want to get you excited about your future. Thanks for stopping by.